So, something that I feel this past week especially has kind of gone over under the radar is the Supreme Court vote 8-1, basically unbanning conversion therapy. We can play the video and we can watch it and then talk about it, but I'm just so frustrated about this. I think it's vile and disgusting.
Breaking news today from the Supreme Court. The justices ruled 8-1 in favor of a Colorado counselor who challenged a state law banning conversion therapy, I should say, for minors. It's a case that also had significant First Amendment arguments, and Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was the lone dissenter. I want to bring in CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford. Jan, good to see you today. Can you take us through this decision from the High Court?
Sure. I mean, like you said, this was a Christian therapist in Colorado challenging this state law that prevents therapists from practicing so-called conversion therapy, obviously trying to, for minors, trying to change someone's sexual orientation or gender identity. She sued because she said, she's not trying to change anything, but it really limits what she can do in her practice, what she can say and talk to her clients about, because all she can do when a teenager comes in is to affirm their views. And so that violates, she said, her First Amendment rights to practice her religion and to speak freely. She lost in the lower courts. The lower court said that state has a right to regulate medical practice. That this isn't speech, this is like the practice of medicine. But as you said, in that 8-1 decision written by Justice Neil Gorsuch, who's from Colorado, by the way, the justices really issued kind of a clarion call for free speech, saying that the First Amendment is a shield, as Justice Gorsuch put it in his opinion, against the government trying to make us all think the same way, and that this law, it would be applied to this therapist, violated the First Amendment. So it'll affect about 20 or so other state laws that will prevent them from applying them more broadly and try to target some of these therapists in this situation.
Yeah, and I am kind of surprised by the 8-1 with Jackson, Justice Jackson being the lone dissenter. Is that surprising to you at all? And the fact that, I mean, you have 8 other people who are saying, okay, we actually are going to rule this way, and then just one person dissenting. Your thoughts on that?
There's so much. That's such a great question, because obviously free speech issues cut both ways. Liberals and conservatives are concerned about the government trying to clamp down on speech. People should be able to speak freely. So that's what we saw with that 8 justice kind of lineup. And they signaled that at the oral arguments. And then Justice Jackson in dissent saying, no, this is not speech. This is really going to be catastrophic for the medical profession, because it's going to limit the government from regulating medicine. She didn't see it as a free speech case at all. Very typical we're starting to see from Justice Jackson, going against even her liberal colleagues, willing to speak out, to speak alone, to write decisions alone. It's really unusual for justices to read their dissents from the bench. She did that today. Typically, they reserve it for the most significant cases, like the Dobbs case that overturned Roe versus Wade, or a civil rights case, a voting rights case. Very, very rare. I mean, I can't remember a justice in an 8-1 case summarizing their dissent, but that is her approach. She believes that if you have a disagreement, you need to say it. And that's what we're starting to see from Justice Jackson. It'll be interesting in some of these bigger cases, more controversial cases going forward, what she does in those too. We've got a lot of them out there, Mugo.
Oh, yeah.
This is so dangerous in so many ways, because I'm sure people are like, oh, but it's only Colorado and it's only one therapist. Do you realize how they'll be like, well, the Supreme Court said it here, so it could go all throughout the country? And I am so upset with Sotomayor and Kagan just being like, oh, it's free speech. When are people in this country going to understand that being gay is not a choice? And being a part of the LGBTQ plus community, it's not a choice. It is scientifically proven. And there are so many horror stories from conversion therapy that are also in relation to these crazy white Christian nationalists who just love screaming about loving Jesus. But would Jesus really, do this? And I hate seeing Justice Jackson being bullied about this. Like, she's dumb. Do y'all realize how smart Justice Jackson is? Like, she should be top of the Supreme Court. She is brilliant, and good for her for standing on principle and doing what is right. Because I like this is not about free speech. This is dangerous. And I think that this therapist should lose her license. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys think.
Well, Justin Jackson was definitely on the right side of history. It is not about free speech. It's about like your personal beliefs, your religion should not be in that room with your client when you're practicing medicine and you need to be following science, like empirical, like evidence. And I'm just shocked that the other justices, especially the liberal ones, I don't know what they're thinking. Like, I don't understand how you can even listen to those arguments and come to the conclusion that they did, or the judgment that they did. And
Yeah.
you're right, Katie, it's going to be very, very, very dangerous. And it's going to spread.
Because something that people don't realize about conversion therapy is the horror stories of, children that then commit suicide afterwards, or like they have to hide themselves for years, and what that really does to your mental health. That's so deteriorating, trying to hide who you are for that long. And then
And
it
work.
with family dynamics, and it's awful. It's torture.
What is a Christian therapist? Do they just
Right.
base their therapy on the Bible,
Like how
or
did they pass school? Like
Exactly.
maybe they went to Liberty or something.
Conversion therapy worked for the Squeaker of the house and his pornography buddy or accountability partner, his son. So that was going to work for the rest of the country because they want to stay
Did
positive. Just
did
like
it work though? Did it work?
Yeah,
though?
I was gonna say, did it really work?
no, we can see through
Yeah.
him and Lizzie Graham just as
But-
with clear
Yeah.
eyes.
The thing about this, it really irks me is, yeah, she has free speech outside of the therapy session.
Yes.
Talk therapy is therapy, period. And so that's where I'm so disappointed in the Supreme Court, because this is not free speech. She has her free speech outside of therapy. Talk therapy is therapy. And that's what you know what? I keep going back to, as a parent of a gay son, I go back to the parents. You know what? The parents need to take responsibility, period. And unfortunately, there are Christian fanatics who think that this is what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to put their children in this kind of therapy.
I see a lot of times on threads, people will ask like, "Oh, what should I do if my child is gay?" Maybe you shouldn't be a parent.
Yep.
Maybe you shouldn't be a parent if you're that worried about that, because your children need your support and love. And that's what gets them through this. Not these BS these BS laws and rules that they're trying to force on people.
Yeah.
Conversion therapy camps wasn't the basis of those, and I could be totally wrong, electroshock therapy and stuff.
Yeah.
too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Abuse.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Abuse, yeah.
That they can regulate. So anything physical, they can't regulate.
Yeah. And I'm a mother of a gay daughter. I'm a mother of a gay daughter. My brother is gay. And when I saw this ruling, I was just mortified, because to me, parents taking their children to a psychiatrist to try to change them, to me, is abuse. It's not helping their mental health at all. It's saying you're wrong, we're right, we're going to do it. And then when you have someone who is a therapist that's supposed to have privileged communications with their patient, and then we have the Supreme Court saying, well, it's free speech. So are you really saying that you can talk about that, outside the room when you're not supposed to? That's the thing that really gets me the most, because free speech is, if I go out to a protest and I'm, protesting and saying things, where my therapist, you know what? I expect it to be between us.
But it is seriously only a matter of time before they turn the page on ICE to go after the gays now, or another sect of our
Well,
population.
or that laws like this just start passing throughout the country.
And this
And
decision, I feel this decision is going to increase, if not legitimize, homophobia as well.
I think that a really good movie that came out, I think it was like 2018. It was called Boy Erased, and it's about a pastor and his wife sending their son to conversion therapy. It's very eye-opening. Russell Crowe's in it. Sometimes when I see parents or like people asking questions about like people that are gay, it's like how does this affect your life in any way? Like if it's not their child or it's not someone they know, like how does it affect you in any way? Why are you so adamant about this? And
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But I'm also curious as to what the APA has to say about this type of therapy, right?
Yeah.
Very, very curious.
But you know what I've learned with all of this crazy nonsense that, to be afraid of gays and all this, and the one that bothers me the most, and he's still saying it, is that your son goes to school as a boy and comes home as a girl.
Oh,
He's still saying that. So I always think of those people who believe it, and I come across people who believe it, and I'll say, really, how does that happen? Do they do it in the cafeteria? Are the kids involved? Do the students all get to cut the penis off, and then do they put it in a jar in the classroom? What do they do? Does someone get to bring it home on holidays? And the cafeteria ladies, do they have a part in this? You start asking like logical questions how that actually happens in a school setting, and they're all just like, dumbfounded with that blank deer in the headlights. Think about what you're saying. The kid went to school, and everybody, who did it? Where did it happen? The gym, the cafeteria, the library? Where do they do it? And they just are such blind followers. It's scary. With the Haitians, same thing.
To back on that, Jim, my husband's a teacher, and one of the things he does is he takes kids to traveling marching band competitions. And he also sees with like the school nurses and stuff, there are so many forms you have to fill out regarding your children's health and regarding like specific medications or when they can take. You have to sign like basically an entire waiver just to give a child Tylenol in school. So how do these people think that, as the IHIP ladies love to say, they're whacking wieners off in school?
Right.
Like
Well,
the logical thinking is just out the window, and it's insane.
My daughter, all those special needs, and just the courts that we had to go through for her IEP and all of that stuff, and she had a nurse with her in the classroom, plus an aide, plus the seizure medications, all that stuff. I mean, it goes back to the litter boxes in classrooms. Really? Well, who went to court for that? Like, no board of ed is going to allow that without an IEP this thick and 12 visits to court. It's just.
So I have a different take on this. I've come to the conclusion recently that I think the free speech of it all needs to be reined in a bit. I think we've taken it too far. I think it's a great idea in theory, but we use it to excuse all kinds of BS that is harmful. Like, we should not be flying the Confederate flag. We should not be flying Nazi flags. Like, that is not good for anybody. And I don't think we should be allowing fucking conversion therapy and under the guise of free speech. So I agree with the idea of free speech and concept, but it needs to have limits. It's getting out of control. It's ridiculous.
I think the problem too, and I agree with you, Keisha. I think the problem too is we have strayed so far from what is fact and what is opinion when it comes to like what can be said about the free speech issues, and people think that acting a certain way should be a fact or like an opinion, and we have to find a way back to start believing facts again.
Well, Christianity has infiltrated the government. There's no more separation.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it.
Let's caveat that. Christian nationalism has infiltrated the government, which is a political ideology, right? Not so much a religious ideology, which is so much more dangerous. So much more dangerous. Yeah, and I agree with you, Keisha. I mean, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. There are limitations. There are limitations.
Do you guys think that, if parents start doing this to their children, that we're going to see an uptick in child suicides?
Yes,
Absolutely.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
If it's allowed.
No
it's allowed.
question.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the discussion on people going to their son going to school and coming home female or whatever. Even if it's not, I mean, obviously it's not logical, but I'm wondering not so much the physical aspect of it, but the fact that their son goes to school thinking and feeling male and comes home and says, I don't think I'm a man anymore. I think I'm a girl. To me, that's probably more of where they're going with this and what they're thinking. Because you went back to school, I've been around a lot of the younger generation, and there are a lot of there's a lot of questioning about what am I? How do I identify as male, as female? It's amazing that generation is so questioning those things, right? How do I really feel? That's the great part about it. They're going, wait, how do I really feel about this? Because as a society, we are so black and white on what is male and what is female.
I was just
And
going to
Kids
say,
haven't been educated. That's the problem. Kids haven't been educated.
I think it was recently again when Tim Walz, I think, was in DC. Nancy Mace again was like, "Oh, what is a woman?" And there's no like concrete answer. Everybody is their own person, and it's like, I'm a female, I'm straight. Am I very feminine? Not really, but I'm still a female. And that, like, why is that anybody's business?
And I think that's the word those are the words. It's the feminine masculine versus the male female, because we all have feminine masculine traits. Some females have more masculine traits. And so I think, people, I think the older generation, even my generation and older, get stuck on that male, female, gender, physical, and don't think more broadly. For me, it's like this younger generation is more they're more connected to who they are as a soul than they are who they are as a physical body. And I think there's something beautiful about that.
Yeah, and I feel that it's actually a social construct as far as what gender is. And people are trying to act like it's new, that non binary is new, transgender is new. Non binary and transgender people have been around for at least on record 5,000 years. And with religion, it became something that's supposed to be taboo with colonizations. But there's many civilizations and cultures that actually revered non-binary people and transgender people. And I think that needs to be taught. It's not new. We've been here forever and we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Thank you, Mo. Isn't it funny? It comes from the religious groups, yet aren't angels non-binary?
Oh,
Yeah.
That is so true, Kim.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Was thinking they are. So I don't know. It's people just sometimes I've always thought, and when I coach leadership, I talk about this. People sometimes live in a world of black and white, and it's not black and white. We live in the gray all day long. So I think that black and white thinking gets us in trouble. That's just my sense. Anything else, Katie? Great topic.
I don't think so, but thank you guys. I
Just live and
appreciate
let live, and everybody stop judging everybody else and move on.
Exactly.
That's what I say.
If you're not harming yourself or others, it's none of your business.
Right.
Just saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Moving on.
Why does the GOP seem to want to control everybody so much? That is just my
They're
question.
repressed, bunch of repressed people.
Something.